Hello and welcome. This is Business Incorporated. Thank you for joining us. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwago. On the show today, Ghana finance boss aims to keep IMF checks after bailout ends. Ethiopian Airlines and Zambia to relaunch national airline to cost of $30 million. Plus, Nairobi Securities Exchange suspends trading of Kenya's ARM cement. Let's begin with trading activities across major continents and starting with Africa, where sentiment looked mixed at intraday. Now at noon, the market here in Nigeria was 0.43% down, starting a new trading week on a negative note. South Africa's index, on the other hand, was quite optimistic, with the index up 1.24%. Egypt is closed for the Muslim holiday, and Kenya traded 0.37% up on Friday. And markets in the Middle East have started observing the Muslim holiday as they all remain closed since Sunday. The markets were traded last on Friday saw the Dubai market lead gains with 0.44%. Abu Dhabi was down 0.45%. Qatar closed in the red 1.50%, leading losses. Saudi gained marginally 0.02%. And in Europe, stocks were higher in early trade, with investors awaiting the outcome of trade talks between the world's two largest economies later this week. And of course, Greece has also ended its nearly 10 years of bailouts. Let's talk to Daniel Coop. Hello, Daniel. Good afternoon. A beautiful week to you, and good to see you again.
Yeah, exactly. Good afternoon. And yeah, it's a very nice day here in Frankfurt. You can see it in the background, the blue chip index DAX today also in good spirit at the moment. We are in the green with about 130 points at the moment.
Well, I'm sure in that good spirit, you're going to tell us everything happening in that market, or most of them anyway. Let's begin with this tale of two countries. Greece out of EU bailout and on road to recovery, but Turkey in trouble. Unpack these two different stories for us and what the market is making of them.
Yeah, let's talk first about Greece, Jimmy. Yes, exactly. From today, Greece is not anymore depending on help from the European Union. We have to remember that during the financial crisis, the European Union was pumping billions of euros into Greece, also into banks from Greece, in order to make sure that the country would not be in bankruptcy. Well, now, of course, there's the question how much investors now are trusting Greece. And I can tell you that I do have the feeling that investors are actually believing that Greece, for the moment at least, is on the right track. And they're giving the country quite some credit for their very radical austerity policy that is actually set to continue until 2060. Many cuts have been extremely unpopular inside of Greece. We have to remember that the entire pension system there have been changed. Also, people now can take less vacation days as they were able to take before. Also, the entire government structure was changed. Many government officials were losing their job. Also, Greece can now borrow money again from the financial world, but actually very interesting, they have to pay higher interest rates compared to other countries like Germany, for example. But there are still lots of factors where Greece is actually struggling and where investors are telling me that this is making them concerned. One is the very high unemployment rate with 20%, which of course for a country like Greece here in Europe is extremely high. Their youth unemployment number is even higher. And the other issue is their debt that is still making investors very much concerned. But despite this issue, you can feel the optimism there. And talking about the debt, that is really a big problem when you compare it to their current GDP, which is at a level of about 2.3%. The debt is with more than 180% actually too big. We have to remember, as I said, that Greece received those billions of euros during the financial crisis, and many here are not sure if Greece, they actually have to start paying those credits back in 15 years, if at the end they will be able to pay everything back. And yes, talking about Turkey, today there is actually a very interesting discussion here also inside of Germany at the moment. We have to remember that the economy of Turkey has been struggling for quite some time. Then with these new sanctions because of this priest that is imprisoned in Turkey, also the currency, the lira, has been pretty much in a free fall. So now there's this discussion if maybe at some point also Germany, which then of course means also the German taxpayers, might have to jump in, help out Turkey, which would be a very interesting scenario, because we have to remember with Greece, we had the situation that Greece is a fully member of the European Union. That is not the case with Turkey, but many here are actually saying that in order to have a very strong situation here in Germany and also in Europe, we also need a very strong Turkey. So it's going to be very interesting how those discussions will unfold in the next days and weeks.
We'll keep watching. Well, it's the beginning of a trading week. What is the outlook from Frankfurt on two major events this week? The Fed Economic Conference in Jackson Hole and the Chinese delegation expected to meet U.S. officials over ongoing trade dispute.
Yeah, two very interesting appointments that are going to take place this week. Of course, the Fed, there is always this question if we might get an indication of possible interest rate hikes in the United States after the latest economical data that we have received from there. We have to remember that Donald Trump was reporting this record GDP growth just recently. So yeah, this is going to be, of course, the key focus of investors if news about those interest rates will be announced. And yes, when you talk about China, and we have to talk also about the European Union, this trade dispute is not off the table. As a result, that we do have the feeling that it has calmed down. We can see that the market has been recovering today. As I said, we are here in the green, but yes, this meeting will be on the focus of agenda of investors. And also today, there's going to be a meeting of officials taking place in Washington today about the trade dispute of the United States with the European Union. We have to remember that first the European Union said, well, not the European Union, that the United States said, well, there are going to be those tariffs on steel and aluminium. And after that, Donald Trump, because he's always very worried, was saying that there are going to be those tariffs also on cars. When those potential car tariffs were announced, the EU President Jean-Claude Juncker went to Washington. He was able to negotiate with the US president for the moment, but only for the moment. Those car tariffs are off the table. In return, the European Union announced that they would buy soybeans and also fluid gas from the United States. But yes, those are only temporary exemptions. So it's going to be very interesting how this meeting now between the counterparts of the European Union and the US will unfold today.